What's going on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all platforms? Welcome to another episode of New York Giants Full Access. And man, we got a special guest in the studio, Coach Ed. And you know what it is, Big Pat Sports Talk with NYG22 Unpopular Opinion Sports. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about who should the Giants take at number 3. You know the free agency moves, you know the signing of Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. So we're going to talk about the possibilities of the New York Giants with the number 3 pick right after the intro. So let's get into it.
Let's go.
4, 3, 2, 1. Connect!
I'm feeling pretty good.
Thank you guys for tuning in. And look,
I'm feeling pretty good. Pretty
welcome to New York Giants Full Access. All right, so we're going to be talking about who should the Giants take at number 3, man. This is kind of a choice, you know what I'm saying, that a lot of Giants fans are, having a little quarrel about. Who should the Giants take at number 3 now that we've signed 2 quarterbacks, and we've signed a bunch of players on defense, and people are talking about should the Giants still be in on quarterback after taking Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. So these are some of the questions that hopefully we can, come to some answers for you guys about the Giants with the number 3 pick, because this number 3 pick is definitely gonna, change this franchise for the future. And just want to get some of you guys' thoughts on some of the guys that people are talking about, such as Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, or even if an offensive lineman like a Will Campbell or the offensive lineman Mbu from Missouri. What do you guys think, man? Some of the guys that you think we should take?
Number one, it's going to always start how the Titans and the Browns, who they select over the Giants, because you got to wait till number 3 to make your pick. Now, let's just say for argument's sake, well, we already know the Titans, for the most part, are taking Cam Ward, unless you, which we just talked about a little bit earlier, giving up 3 first-round draft picks to move up to number 1. But let's just say the Giants don't do that, and they're staying at 3. What do the Browns do? NYG and I had our little, debate about it. I kind of think, I would say probably 70%, 75%, I think the Browns are taking a quarterback, which is going to be Shedeur Sanders. So that leaves you with 2 generational talents, or do you take an offensive lineman to help the quarterbacks that you have right now, to give them more protection and move Jermaine Illuminor inside to guard to help solidify the interior of the offensive line? Or do you go with Carter, or you go with Travis Hunter? Personally, if the 2 quarterbacks are off the board, I know I've been a big sexy fatty guy. I love the trenches, but
We
I
just
think you
aimed
got
it.
to go. I think you got to go with either Carter or Hunter. Now, Carter as a defensive end coming in at number 3. My question is going to be this: are you going to have him come off the bench? Because more than likely, that's what you're going to have to do. Now, he's an elite pass rusher. I definitely give you that. You know, he's done amazing things at Penn State. But there's one thing most people do not talk about when it comes to Carter. And we've complained about this in Giant Land. It's about setting the edge. He's not good at setting the edge. He's not. You know, now in time, can he develop? Yes. But right now, he's roughly about 235, 240, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he's up to 241, 242, somewhere around there, Coach.
Okay. So, actually, Draft Buzz has him at 259. Okay. I don't think he was
Got
that
up to
big.
259? Man, that's crazy.
That's according to Draft Buzz. I don't know how accurate. I don't know if he was weighed at the combine. So, if one of you guys can grab that and verify, but still, in college he wasn't, very good at setting the edge. So that you have to take into consideration. So if you draft him, he's coming off the bench. Are you happy with your number 3 overall draft pick coming off the bench? As far as Hunter, you could start him at wide receiver, give him some defensive packages. I know, we've heard that the Giants consider him as a cornerback. With all the moves that, have been made, you don't have to start him at cornerback. You can phase him in, and you know what? Next year, if you want to play him a little bit more, and you're comfortable with it, fine.
250, Coach.
250, okay.
250.
So he's added
Combine.
weight.
Mm-hmm.
So he's added weight. Yeah. So, but he still has to work on setting the edge in terms of Carter. But for the NFL, that will come with time, and but with him doing that, because that also says, what are you doing with Kayvon? Because remember, you got to decide if you're picking up his 5th-year option.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, personally, I would probably, if both quarterbacks are gone, I'm probably looking at Hunter first, because he gives you so much that he can do on the field, playing not 2 phases. He plays 3 phases. He can play special teams too if you wanted to in a pinch.
Mm-hmm.
I know people are going to say he's not that big. You question that, and I understand that. But maybe not the first year, but once you get him into an NFL training camp and into a weight program, it's going to add on good muscle. So personally, I'm leaning more towards Hunter over Carter right now. But Carter definitely brings something to the table. Now, the other side is, if you really want to solidify the offensive line, is it Membao, or is it
Will Campbell?
Will Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
And that would help solidify your offensive line. That would maybe that would probably help you a lot more in the run game. And that brings you the ability to, do more with Tyrone Tracy. And hey, here's something else. Wandale Robinson can play running back. And you put that small dude behind some big offensive linemen. I'm not saying let him be a feature back and every down back, but you put him back there on a couple of plays, you say no.
Let me ask you a question, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a question that's a legit question that NYG has been asking. You say that you're feeling Travis Hunter a little bit more than what Abdul Carter is right now. My question to you is, shout out to NYG, is do you trust the Giants with Travis Hunter? Do you trust the Giants' ability to have him develop as a corner? You giving the Deontay Banks, you giving Prince Amukamara, you giving DeAndre Baker, you giving Eli Apple. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you trust these guys to develop a corner? Cordell Flott. What's the other guy? Trey Hawkins.
Mm-hmm.
The Williams before that. Like, do you trust these guys? I'd like to hear your answer on that one, Coach.
Well, you have a new defensive back coach in, so that's something you have to trust that he's going to bring into play. But if I'm bringing Hunter in, I'm looking more to use him a lot more on offense than I am on defense. I'm using him on occasion on the defensive side. Like I said earlier, you're going to question his size. It's a different ball game than being in the Big 12. So it's a lot physical. Look at our division. The run games is going to be a lot more physical. So, slowly groom him into being comfortable playing on the defensive side of the ball. As far as developing them, to be honest with you, no. I mean, I'm not comfortable with this coaching staff developing any of the players right now, to be brutally honest. I have my questions with, the head coach leadership. You make a great argument, but we have a new defensive back coach in here. So, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. What can he do to help teach these guys and develop these guys? Because it's not really the coordinator who's developing them. It is the position coaches. So, you may listen to the scheme. This is what we're looking to do. But as the position coach, you're the one in there every day with those players. The coordinator may come around, look at things, but he has to go from defensive line to edge, the linebackers, the safeties, and the cornerbacks. So he's not giving his full attention, as opposed to, and then also with your meetings, the position coach is the one sitting in those meetings and going over things and talking and discussing and breaking down film. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, because they seem to have scapegoated Henderson, as the reason why, guys didn't
DBs,
develop. Yeah. So I'm going
Which
to go.
is crazy, bro. That's crazy. Because I thought he was one of the better defensive coaches or defensive back coaches in the league. Coach, bro. We not drafting the Giants are not drafting Travis Hunter to be a cornerback. You cannot draft him to be a cornerback. Why? Because you just drafted a cornerback in the first round a couple years ago. That's Deontay Banks. You just signed Paulson Adebo to a contract. You drafted Drew Phillips. You drafted Cordell Flott, Trey Hawkins. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. We could talk about DeAndre Bakers and Eli Apples and on and on and on and on and on. You're picking third. Let's not lose sight of that. Because if we lose sight of that, then we're just treating this like the 20th pick. This is the third overall pick. Your position as a franchise should never be to pick this high again and be in this position at all.
Right.
So when you're in that type of position, your focus should be on a franchise changing type of player. Now, not saying Travis Hunter can't do that, but on offense, I don't think he's better than Malik Neighbors. And on defense, again, you're not picking him to be CB1. You're not. So what are you drafting him for? Just to be a gadget type of player? I'm not trying to do that. Now, let's move off the quarterback for a minute, because I know people want to go back and forth with this quarterback thing. Y'all know how we feel. Y'all know how I feel. I want Sador Sanders. That is the only pick that I'm trying to make. But if it don't work out which is always a possibility.
Mhm.
I'm never gonna knock that. I'm a realist. You run to that podium and draft Abdul Carter immediately. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because when you're talking about a difference making, let's talk about the roster for a minute. You just lost Azeez Ojulari to Philadelphia of all people. You let Azeez go to Philly. Now you got Kayvon Thibodeau. They waffling already on the 5th-year option with him.
Mm-hmm.
You got a monster over there in Brian Burns. You got a monster in the middle with Dexter Lawrence. If you draft Abdul Carter, immediately that changes your defense to probably being one of the better defenses in the NFL because of your ability to get after the passer. Because now you still have Kayvon Thibodeau on this roster. You do not have to start Kayvon Thibodeau. He might sulk and be a little, you know what about it. But again, if we're talking about not picking up his 5th-year option, who cares? You just drafted one of the better defensive players to come out in a good while. You know, they talking about he can be better than Micah Parsons. And, you know, you guys watch more film than I do. I'll let y'all guys make that judgment. But again, I know he can be an impact player immediately on this defense and change this defense dramatically. Now you can bring in rotations. Now you have a true NASCAR package, if you want to throw one out there, with him, Tibbs, Dex, Burns. Like, screw not screw the corners, because I know you're going to say something, but I think that front 7 can make up for a small deficiency in your cornerback, if that's the case. Now with the offensive line, you have a good point. You can pretty much take one of these tackles, put them over there, and move Jermaine Illumino inside. I've said that, but I can do that in the 2nd round. I know this offensive line class is loaded with prospects. I've personally talked to them. So I'm cool with going 2nd round offensive tackle or offensive guard. I get your point on that. But it doesn't mean you have to take one in the 1st round. Not because this is a critical pick. This needs to be a difference-making pick. And the only 2 difference makers I see off rip for the New York Giants, Travis Hunter might work for another team, but for the New York Giants, that's Sador Sanders, and that is Abdul Carter. I'm done.
So
Yeah.
let me just come back and just make sure I'm understanding what you're saying as far as Carter. So you're drafting Carter and you're bringing Thibodeau off the bench. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, if I have to.
Okay.
Or I could just play him in rotation.
Well, somebody has to start. My question is to start because you're one who always talks about
they're gonna compete, and whoever wins the job, that's who starts.
So but see, with your 3rd round draft pick, you're expecting them to come in and start. So if Tibbs beats him out, I'm sorry, not 3rd round.
I expect him to beat Thibodeau out.
If Thibodeau beats him out, because remember,
it is what it is.
You talk about the biggest thing is the division. We go up against some good running games in our division.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so now if he's going to improve his game there, that's another thing. But you know, there are questions about him setting the edge and being physical in the run game. So, you know, and you're one who has harped about that. You know, been a big proponent in reference to that. So that's my only pushback there because, you know, and Tibbs is not the greatest at setting the edge either. So please don't think I'm saying that he, you know, but he's an NFL player.
I was going to go there.
But he's been in the NFL 3 years, so he has something over Carter there. You know, so
that's true.
So if based off of this, with both of those, and you know, everyone talks about their generational.
So let me ask you this.
Hard, man. This one is really hard.
Let me ask you this, Coach. Run defense being maybe Tibbs has a little bit more than Carter. Pass rush, Carter's better, bro.
I'm not. You won't get an argument.
So
here.
Again, you're getting two premier edges, bro. We're getting back to true Giants football. Kayvon Thibodeau. The problem with Kayvon Thibodeau is a lot of people saying he don't finish plays. You know what I'm saying? And he doesn't hustle on a lot of plays. I think Abdul Carter, you ain't gonna have that problem. He's going to get to the quarterback. So is Brian Burns. So is Dexter Lawrence. They're gonna meet at the quarterback. And when you got Kayvon Thibodeau out there, that's I don't know. Maybe if things go right, I ain't worrying about that with these three. That's how you set your defense up to be the next great Giants defense. That's what I'm trying to build.
Well, I'm going to throw both you guys an Uno reverse card.
Go ahead.
And I'm going to say you don't have to worry about that because Abdul Carter, you can line him up anywhere. You can line him up at the off linebacker position or the edge. So there's a scenario to where all three of those guys could be on the field for a good amount of time. And Brian Burns, Thibodeau, and Abdul Carter, because he has the ability to play off-ball linebacker. So he's one of those type of defenders that you really don't have to take off the field much. And when it comes to third down pass rush, you could put him in the middle of the field and let Thibodeau and Burns go off the edge and bring him up the middle of the field. And he has to be accounted for. That's what the Cowboys do with Micah Parsons. You see what I'm saying? When they had two good edge rushers in Lawrence and I believe Armstrong at the time, his rookie year, they lined him up all over the field. He only became an edge rusher for most of his time when they lost that other edge rusher. And Dante Fowler wasn't the guy that they believed could be opposite of DeMarcus Lawrence. So they put, Micah Parsons there. But on third downs, you see Micah Parsons pretty much like in an amoeba position where he's deciding which gap he wants to go into, and you have to account for him. You see what I'm saying? So you can use Carter in that role. We can literally have our own Micah Parsons. We might have the second chance to draft Micah Parsons with Abdul Carter, and I think he's actually a little bit better when it comes to sideline to sideline speed. Now, his strength, he would have to get that up. I think Micah Parsons is just naturally stronger than Abdul Carter. But with Abdul Carter, yeah, he's not that guy that you have to decide, I got to take Thibodeau off the field. No, if you want Abdul Carter on the field with Thibodeau and Brian Burns, you can literally do that at any given moment. That's why Abdul Carter would be the pick for me if this man was not available in Shedeur Sanders. You know what I'm saying? Like, if Shedeur Sanders was not available, that's the guy that I would take is Abdul Carter. But me personally, the pick that I still want the Giants to do at 3 is Shedeur Sanders. Yeah, we got Russell Wilson. Yeah, we got Jameis Winston, but those are rentals. And he can learn the game from Russell Wilson on how to be accurate and, make great decisions at inopportune times, still make a decision. And he can learn from Jameis Winston of being fearless. Don't hold back so much that you're costing your team. Allow your players to make plays, and Russell Wilson can do that too. And both these quarterbacks are not like how Aaron Rodgers would be and, shut him out. Both these guys will be talking to him, and he can take things from Russell Wilson that's good, and he can take things from Jameis Winston that's good, So I do believe Shedeur Sanders should still be your pick. But the thing that scares me is that Joe Shane and Brian Daboll on their last leg. So if they're on their last leg, picking a quarterback for the future doesn't make too much sense to me. If you're on your last leg, that's why they went out and got 2 veteran quarterbacks such as Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson, because they didn't want to be in a situation where Tommy DeVito has to get snaps. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But this will still be my pick for my franchise. And if I'm the owner, I'm making them do it. You know what I'm saying? I actually might give them a little bit of slack because if Russell Wilson comes in and wins some games and have us around like 6 games towards the end of the season, you can let Shedeur Sanders play 2 games and show him that, hey, look, we got the quarterback of the future. We got our guy. Give us our last year, and we'll show you what we can do with him.
Mhm.
But if it's not Sanders, it's got to be Abdul Carter to me. I love Travis Hunter as a player. Travis Hunter is nice. Love Travis Hunter as a player. I believe that he can be that dual player in the league, but I don't trust us with cornerbacks. I'm sorry, I don't. You know what I'm saying? I hopefully a Debo turns in as advertised, and that'll help us out a lot. But we have not done right by cornerbacks. You can look at Banks right now after his rookie season. You changed the system on him. Now he's struggling again. Now he has to learn a whole new thing again. Prince of Mukamara, like I said, Eli Apple, DeAndre Baker. You know, the list goes on and on and on. And I just don't trust the Giants because they'll do something crazy and make him be a corner only. You see what I'm saying? Like, I believe this kid is a way better receiver than he is corner. I promise you that he's a way better receiver than he is a corner. I know that for a fact. And can you trust him to go against an AJ Brown or the quickness of a Devontae Smith or the physical and quickness of CD Lamb? You know what I'm saying? Can you trust him against a Terry McLaurin? I don't know if you can do that.
Cook food.
Yeah, that's why I believe that if it's not Shedeur Sanders, you got to go Abdul Carter. I'm not wanting no Mason Graham. I'm not wanting the offensive lineman that high in the draft because we got Thomas and Illuminor. And you could afford to go into the second round and get yourself an offensive lineman. We talked to many of the prospects that will be there in the second round at the Senior Bowl, and they will be very good guys to come in and learn and be ready to start for you in a year or two if you need them to. But that's my whole opinion on the whole thing, what the New York Giants should do as far as the third round pick, man. The number 3 pick in this draft. I'm gonna put it back in you guys' court, man. I just truly believe Sanders should be the pick, and if Sanders is not there, then you take Abdul Carter. But I'm not looking at any of these other guys, even though they are talented. Mason Graham doesn't make sense because we already got Dexter Lawrence. Travis Hunter doesn't make sense to me because I believe they would play him at corner instead of receiver. And then you drafted Malik Neighbors the year before. So are you happy with Jackson Dart maybe in the second round? And he might not even get to the second round. Are you happy with a Milroe? Are you happy with a Tyler Shuck or a Quinn Ewers or somebody as your quarterback of the future? I'm not comfortable with that. Now, Milroe, a little bit, because then he can really learn from Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston as well, but he has a lot to work on. And what do you guys think, man?
Well, as far as Shedeur, you're right. I'm big on Shedeur Sanders. Here's an unpopular opinion for me.
Hit that like button.
If he was in the draft last year, I take him over all the quarterbacks last year. That's me. I just think he has everything. First and foremost, the mental ability to process the game. It's already there. Just have to fine tune some things, but it's already there. So he's already playing the game in his mind at a slower pace. He's not being rushed. He knows how to manipulate the pocket when he's getting pressured. He played with a terrible offensive line in Colorado and still was successful for the most part with what he was doing and how he was producing at Colorado. People talk about his arm strength. I'm not one to say he can make all the NFL throws that he needs to. You don't need a cannon of an arm. Everybody gets enamored with Josh Allen. But I saw a quarterback who did not have an elite arm in terms of power, but his anticipation ability led him to be a fairly good quarterback. And he's nowhere near what Shedeur Sanders is in terms of talent. And I'm talking about Chad Pennington. Chad Pennington really 10 to 15 yards was his window. Shedeur Sanders can get you 20, 25 yards on a consistent basis. He can still get the ball down the field. He can play the sidelines, he can play the middle of the field in terms of his passing. People talk about, oh, he's not an athlete. He can still run the football. I don't need him to be out here running the football all over the place. But if you need to do a quarterback read, a quarterback option, every now and then, he can get you what you need. So, and one of the big things that I love about his game is his moxie. Some people call it arrogance. I call it extreme confidence. And he can handle the New York market. Because a lot of players cannot handle the New York market. It takes young men and makes them little boys with some players. And that's in all sports, not just football. But Shedeur Sanders, he can handle it. And he would do so many wonderful things here in New York to help bring this franchise and take it to another level. Again, for me, he has all the tools. He has all the tools. Another quarterback who did not have the strongest of arms, but was a champion, Joe Montana.
Yep.
Joe Montana did not have the strongest of arms, but he was more than adequate to get the ball where you need to go. Shedeur Sanders can play in some regards. He can play the quick game. He can play the deep game. He can play the intermediate. He can do whatever you need him to do. And he understands the game of football and how to play it. And he's not afraid. That's what I want in my quarterback. He's not afraid. So I'm with you both in terms of the quarterback. For me, it's Shedeur Sanders. I don't care who was drafted last year. I don't care who you're talking about for next year. He's my quarterback. If I can draft him, if Cleveland takes Carter, I'm even taking Shedeur over Hunter. He's my quarterback that I would want, if he's on the board. But Pat, you made an excellent point about, Dable and Shane. Dable more than Shane for the most part, but both of them are on the hot seat. So, yeah, it leaves me the question. But you know what? You bring him in, he's sitting behind two veteran guys. He can learn the game. He still has his father. He still has all his other resources. He still has Tom Brady, his mentor. So, for me, if I'm Mara, like you said, I'm telling them if he's there, you draft him. You draft him.
I'm gonna tell you another reason why I'm cool with them taking Shedeur Sanders, and I can see the vision of Brian Daboll and Shane a little bit more with the quarterback position. Is because they signed Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. And neither one of those guys are the type of guy that you can run the ball with and make quarterback runs with. You see what I'm saying? So that tells me that he wants a quarterback, not a running back at quarterback. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to be able to do with him that you do with Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or a Daniel Jones per se. He's a pocket quarterback. So is Russell Wilson. So is Jameis Winston. They can scramble when they have to. That's the type of quarterback Shedeur Sanders is. So I know with you taking those two type quarterbacks that you can build a system around a quarterback that can throw the ball from the pocket. That was one thing that I was scared of. So if they would have went out and signed somebody like a Justin Fields, I'd be like, no, don't take Shedeur Sanders because he's not that type of quarterback. And neither is Cam Ward. So that just lets me know that they're wanting to work with a quarterback from the pocket, that they can do that, which is a good thing. So hopefully you know, those two quarterbacks don't deter them from taking a future quarterback who I think this dude is going to be good no matter where he goes, whether it's Cleveland, whether it's us, whether it's the Raiders, whether it's the Saints. I think he will succeed no matter where he goes because of his confidence and because of his pedigree. And that's something that the New York Giants love at the quarterback position, a pedigree. He has that. He has that with his father and Deion Sanders. So you know work is not an issue. This dude has been called grown since he was 11 years old because he's been putting in that work since he was 11 years old. And he's had a mindset of, I want to be legendary. I don't want to be generational. You let Cam Ward be generational. I want to be legendary. Because my pops was legendary. So the only way I could ever be considered even close to my pops is I got to go in there and I have to be legendary because that's what my pops was. So if that's his mindset and that's his goal, why wouldn't you want to take this kid? I don't get it, you know, but I don't know. NYG, you got any more comments on who the Giants should take at number 3?
I mean, y'all guys said pretty much everything that I would have said in those comments, because to me, it's a no-brainer. Like, what other position are you going to take that's going to have that type of impact on your team from a future standpoint? Because remember, these guys aren't here forever. Talking about Russ and Jameis Winston. From a culture standpoint, they're already talking about, hey, we're going to come in and change the culture of your team. What is wrong with the Giants? They have a culture issue, a big one. From a skill standpoint, as far as building on your young wide receiver core, which they all young, even Slayton ain't that old, all under 30. Like, that is the only pick that makes sense. And think about the New York Giants for a minute. Everybody be hating on Joe Shane and everything, but a pick at 3, they don't have to start none of these dudes. Nope. When is the last time the New York Giants have been picking that high in the draft and haven't had to start their first overall pick? They don't have to. Should they start Abdul Carter or maybe a tackle? Maybe, yeah, or Travis Hunter, maybe. But we just went through the scenarios. They don't have to start none of these players. That's why you take the quarterback. That is why you take the quarterback. Because you will never be in this position to not have to start a quarterback 3rd overall. I'm done.
Yeah, that's a fact. The Giants are in a position, no matter if they took Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, Will Campbell, and Mabu, whoever that they pick, even if it was an Ashton Genty, they still wouldn't have to start them if they didn't want to. So that actually tells me that you got some talent on your roster. You see what I'm saying? Because if you had no talent, it wouldn't matter which one of those players they picked. They would have to start at that position. And that is very true. This is the first time in a long time that first pick doesn't have to be the immediate starter. That's a fact. And that's a good thing.
And YG, last thing for me, you just said something. You were talking about culture. And didn't Shedeur just talk about that? Didn't he just talk about that? If you're not trying to change your culture, don't draft me.
Don't draft me. Yep.
Well, and what is Russ and Winston trying to do? They're trying to change the culture. So that tells me they're not afraid to change the culture, and they want players in here that are about improving the culture. I don't want to say changing. I'm going to say improving the culture. And all 3 of those quarterbacks will help improve the culture. And then in the long run, that'll bring out the talent, which Pat just talked about, that's here in this organization, and bring other talent in and help them reach their full potential out there on the football field. That's it.
That's a fact.
Well
Coach.
said, Coach. Well said, bro.
Well,
yeah, man.
This has been a special episode of New York Giants Full Access, man. And we are going through some of the scenarios of who the New York Giants should pick at number 3. My pick is Shedeur Sanders, 1, Abdul Carter, 2. I believe NYG is the same way. Shedeur Sanders, 1, Abdul Carter, 2. And Coach agrees with us with Shedeur Sanders, but the option B is Travis Hunter in his mind right now. And you know Coach is going to do some more films, so that may change in the future. But we're all on Shedeur Sanders, whether you want to say whatever you want to say about us. I do believe Shedeur Sanders should be the pick and lead us into the future in this NFC East division.
One more scenario.
Yeah.
Wild scenario. Cam Ward and Shedor's there at 3. Because we haven't talked a lot about Cam Ward.
Wait a minute, say that again.
If Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are there at 3, say Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter go 1, 2. You have your pick at quarterback.
Shedeur Sanders.
Okay.
Me too.
He's my number 1 quarterback.
I just want to make sure that because a lot of the options are like we're assuming Cam is going 1.
No.
So if they have their pick, because a lot of people in New York Giants land say they should go Cam Ward. I'm with you guys though. Shedeur is our boy. Shedeur is our boy. That's all I gotta say, man. You can wrap it up, Pat.
Shedeur's our boy, man. Number 3 overall. I do believe that is the right pick, and I believe that will be the pick that transcends this franchise into being respectable again. You got to get your quarterback of the future when you have the chance to. And I don't know what's wrong with this fan base. Now all of a sudden everybody wants to do a pump fake on the quarterback. And I'm going to say it. You got people like Tiki Barber out there, Chris Canty, Amani Toomer, Brandon Jacobs, Victor Cruz, Eli Manning. You know what I'm saying? The only one that really ain't came out saying nothing is Michael Strahan. And it just leaves you to wonder, what changed? You know what I'm saying? What changed? Because this kid has similar stats to every last quarterback that came out last year. He had better stats than Drake May, had better stats than Bo Nix, had better stats than Caleb Williams. And everybody wanted to trade their soul for a guy like that last year. So what's the issue? You wanted Michael Penix as well. You wanted Jaden Daniels as well. So what's the issue? Does Shedeur Sanders scare the New York Giants fan base? Because it's not an issue of Shedeur Sanders being scared of New York. Is New York scared of Shedeur Sanders? That's the question you got to ask. You know what I'm saying? A certain part of this fan base may not want to see that, which is absolutely horrible. But that's another conversation for another day. Hey, look, this has been Coach. This has been Big Pat Sports Talk. This has been NYG 22 Unpopular Opinion Sports. And this has been New York Giants Full Access, man. Until the very next episode, stop being scared of success. I think some of these guys are scared of success because that person is not what you want that person to be or look like. That's not his problem. He's just him. He's a Sanders. What Sanders you know ain't been successful in that lineage of a family. All them dudes be,
I don't know.
Whatever they do, they're good at it. So here's what it is, man. But you know what time it is, man. Peace.
Doses.
4, 3, 2, 1. Connect!
I'm feeling pretty good.
you guys for tuning in. And look,
I'm feeling pretty good. Pretty good.
welcome to New York Giants Full Access.